Today we're going to be going over the top 10 cards from Paldea Evolved. Kicking us off with an honorable mention is Fortress EX. Fortress EX has a cool ability that lets us knock it out during our turn, so our opponent will take 2 prizes, but we can search our deck for 5 grass energies and attach them to our Pokemon in any way we like. So it's a great way to accelerate energies, things like Regidrago or a Wo-Chin. The attack isn't really notable because you're just going to be using it for the ability. I have a feeling in the future, if we ever get a super powerful grass Pokemon, Fortress will be a lot better. But right now, I think it lacks the support to truly be a meta viable card. Kicking off our list at number 10, we have Mimiky with a very familiar ability, Safeguard. We first saw this on the Suicune from Plasma Blast, we've seen it on Hoopa, we've seen it on Miltank, Decidueye, and this has been a very strong ability whenever it's been printed. With also a respectable attack in Ghost Dive that if we trap something up in the active spot that can't damage us, we could like spread onto our opponent's bench Pokemon. Unfortunately, the HP is a bit low, so if our opponent is playing like some basic Pokemon, like even like a Barrel could one-shot this, which seems like pretty bad. But while it might not have a meta home right now, as the meta keeps moving more and more toward EXs, I think Mimikyu will eventually find somewhere to be useful. Number 9, we have all the Wings of Unity Pokemon. This is like the new Night March style deck where we do 20 times for each Wings of Unity Pokemon we have in the discard pile. So we have 4 Wattrel, 4 Murkrow, and 4 Flamigo. The Flamigo does have an ability where if we bench a Flamigo, we can search our deck for up to 3 Flamigo and put them into our hand. We can easily discard them with other cards like Ultra Ball, Professor's Research. And while this sort of attack has sort of been power crept out of the meta, Dark and Lightning are 2 pretty useful weaknesses right now, with Murkrow being able to hit Gardevoir and Wattrel being able to hit Lugia. So I don't think this is going to be totally obsolete. I do think it will probably be gatekept by the better single prize decks, such as Lost Invokers. Being able to take more than 1 prizes per turn is going to be pretty hard for this Wings of Unity deck to overcome. But if you take Lost Invox out of the equation, I think Wings of Unity is going to be a pretty solid deck. At number 8, we have Noivern EX with 2 very annoying attacks. Covert Flight does 70 and locks down all basics from attacking us on the very next turn, so decks like Lost Invox and Miraidon EX definitely do not want to see this. And then Dominant Echo is the second attack, which is 140 damage, and our opponent cannot play any stadiums or special energies from their hand on their next turn. So these are 2 very annoying attacks, like especially if you can combine Dominant Echo with Paths to the Peak, with an Iono or a Judge or something. It definitely could screw over a lot of decks right now. I'm a bit concerned with the overall damage output. If your locking strategies are not enough to slow your opponent down and they can still set up, Noivern does have a respectable 260 HP, but 140 is not going to be keeping you in games. So I don't see Noivern being too terribly meta relevant. I think it will always be viable, but if it ever did become super top meta, decks can simply tech Lost Vacuum, and then your Paths to the Peak lock strategies are simply not very effective. I might be having Ting Liu too low on this list for having it at number 7, because that ability is just simply so strong. It's as long as Pokemon's in the active spot, all of our opponent's Pokemon have damage counters on them, except Pokemon EX have no abilities. So there's plenty of ways to easily get damage on our opponent's Pokemon from a Hawlucha, from Gabe Jabog, and then Radiant Alakazam to move those damage counters around. The biggest question mark for this card is 3 Fighting Energies, and Fighting doesn't really have too much energy acceleration. Land Scoop is also not doing a large amount of damage. It is putting damage counters on the board, which is part of our core strategy, but it's in a similar way to Noivern, where Noivern isn't doing a ton of damage. If our opponent can set up and our Earth and Curse isn't really slowing them down, it's going to be tough to keep up in games with that Land Scoop attack. There is stuff like Koraidon and Gutsy Pickaxe to accelerate energies to this card, but I fear that might not be consistent enough to keep Ting Liu terribly meta viable. I'm sort of cheating a little bit by putting Chien-Pao and Baxcalibur in the same slot at number 6, but since they're going to be played together, I figured it was logical to put them in the same slot. With Baxcalibur's super cold ability accelerating as many waters as we like from our hand, which perfectly sets up Chien-Pao. Whose Shivery Chill ability lets us search out for 2 water energies if it's in the active spot, and then that Hail Blade doing 60 times for each water we discard from our Pokemon. So Chien-Pao is going to have basically a limitless damage ceiling with Baxcalibur to accelerate energies to it, and we'll have plenty of other little water Pokemon to help us get going with Radiant Greninja. We even can play Origin Form Palkia V-Star. So I definitely see this being the best new archetype coming out of Paldea Evolved, but there's simply so many good cards in this set that it lands at number 6. Coming into the top 5, we have Super Rod, which is a very familiar card for longtime players, being a standard mainstay in the black and white and X and Y format, but not being printed since Breakpoint. It finally gets reprinted in Paldea Evolved, and it's just simply a very good card. Since Ordinary Rod rotated, we have not had a item-based Pokemon recovery card, Clara being pretty much the best that we can do right now. So Super Rod is going to fill that hole that Ordinary Rod left, so this is going to be great in Lost Inbox. Actually, pretty much every deck is going to be playing a Super Rod, so that this is not going to make a super OP card. Like, it's not going to break any one particular archetype, except for maybe Kairu Lost Inbox decks. I just think that since it's going to be so useful in so many different decks, that's why it earns a number 5 spot. At number 4, we have Squawk ability EX. With his show-off ability being very reminiscent of Dedenne from Unbroken Bonds, we have to discard our hand and draw 6 cards, but we only can use it on the first turn, and we only can use 1 per turn. So any deck that plays a lot of ball search cards is definitely going to want to utilize Squawk ability. 160 HP definitely makes it a bit of a liability on the bench. That Psychic attack also can be useful in certain spots where you need to accelerate energies. For only 1 colorless, pretty much every deck that plays it can utilize this attack. The reason why this is so high on this list, even though it's not its own archetype, Squawk ability is going to be used in pretty much every deck that wants to go quickly, doesn't mind discarding cards, and just wants to go fast. It's just a consistency boost for every single deck. So Squawk ability, while it's not going to be overpowering any one particular archetype, it's just going to be everywhere. So that's why I have it at number 4. I was definitely torn on what to put between 3 and 2, but I ended up giving the nod to Reversal Energy. It's a super strong card in its own right, being able to account for 3 of any energy on a non-rule box evolution Pokemon if we are behind. So this can be amazing, especially Gardevoir EX decks, to put on that Chilling Reign Gardevoir. Also really cool, so we can tech out against Lugia by putting it on the new Luxray from Paldea Evolved. I just don't think it's quite as useful as the card at number 2, and as time goes on, this card's only going to get stronger. As Pokemon keeps printing more and more powerful evolution Pokemon, Reversal Energy is just going to get better. I opted to go with Luminous Energy at number 2 just because I think it's going to be more useful, at least when things come out. A lot of decks are going to like to use Luminous Energy. Just any deck that's going to be playing multiple kinds of basic energies, aside from the exception of Mirage Gate decks, they're going to want to use Luminous Energy instead. Because there's nothing more infuriating in the Pokemon trading card game than having the wrong energy card. So Luminous Energy removes all those issues because as long as it's only special energy attached, it counts for all types of energy at once. So a throwback to Rainbow and Aurora Energy that were very similar, not quite as restrictive as Luminous Energy, but I think that that's fine, just the way that the game's power crept. We don't mind a little bit of balance in our lives, but Luminous Energy, as long as legal, it's going to be a great card in standard format, but it still got beat out. It's kind of crazy because in most sets, this would be number 1. Number 1's a bit of an enigma. Get it? Enigma, like Iono in Spanish? Okay, I'll stop. But there's nothing enigmatic about Iono. It's one of the best cards the Pokemon trading card game has ever seen. Being able to make both players shuffle their hands, put them on the bottom of their decks, and then draw a card for each prize card that they have remaining. So a combination of Marnie and N, which N was one of the most strong comeback cards the game has ever seen, and Iono now is the same thing but better, because now your opponent can't just Ultra Ball for that Lumineon out of their deck to thin things out. They have to be sort of careful because by Ultra Balling that 2 cards away, they're not thinning things out because they're actually taking 1 out of their deck. So it completely redoes how players thin out their deck in sequence. So as a competitive player, I'm very happy to see a card like Iono come in because not only will it enable more comebacks, it will also make players have to play better. So I'm very happy to see Iono come to the Pokemon trading card game. So this is my top 10 from Paldea Evolved, all laid out here. And Paldea Evolved is one of the best Pokemon TCG sets in terms of impacts to the competitive game that we've seen in a very long time. So it was very hard to make this top 10 list. It easily could have been a top 20 or 30. I had to cut several cards. I had to sort of cheat a little bit by squeezing Excalibur and Fortress in there. But what do you think of this top 10 list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below. And maybe you're looking for the top 10 new decks from Paldea Evolved. And if you are, you should check out this video right here. And the video's over anyway, so you should just click it. Come on, do it.